Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha-jnanaika-murtaye Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Arunagiri-mupedam Sachidananda-murtim Ramana iti prithivyam Vishrutam Jnana-suryam Gahana Hridaya-vidyam Leelaya bodhayantam Satatam aham ameyam Sadgurum samsmaradam. My humble pranams. We will continue with our study of Devi Kalottaram Jnanachara Vicharam. We are entering into a zone. In fact, the last verse itself, we have entered into a zone where we need to very carefully integrate our own sadhana with the kind of upadeshams that is being given by Ishvara to Parvati Devi. So before I actually go into the slokam, I will read out a verse from a work called Vedanta Dindima. Vedanta Dindima is actually a Prakarana Grantham. Dindima, as we know, is a drum beat. So Vedanta Dindima means the drum beat of Vedanta, the bold declarations of Vedanta. In the olden days, when a king wants to announce something to his citizens, somebody comes beating the drum, and in a very loud voice, he keeps announcing the instructions or whatever it is by the king. So this Vedanta Dindima, we don't know the authorship really. Some people say that it is Adi Shankara himself, but some others feel that it could be one of the acharyas of the Sringeri Mutt, Narasimha Bharati Tirtha, about 500, 600 years back. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Vedanta Dindima, in a very, very short sentence, in a very terse manner, it announces the basic truths of Vedanta. So here it says, which is going to be relevant for our discussion, Karmani Chitta Shuddhyartam Aikagriyatartam Upasana Mokshartam Brahma Vijnanam Iti Vedanta Dindimaha. Every sentence would end with this Vedanta Dindimaha. This is the declaration of Vedanta. What it says here is Karmani Chitta Shuddhyartam. We carry out all our actions in order to have our mind purified. All the actions, all Satkarma, is what is being talked about. All the activities that are good for humanity. It also includes the rituals, yajnas, and other things. They are meant for purifying the mind. And then it says, Ekagratartam. In order to get concentration, one-pointed mind, we require upasana. And then for jnanam, we really require, for moksham, we really require jnana. These are the three things. One way of segregating the Vedas basically is Karma Kandam, Upasana Kandam, and Jnana Kandam. This is one way of, we have Samhitas, which are prayers, and we have Brahmanas, which are also the instruction manuals for carrying out rituals and so on. There's Brahmanas. Then comes Aranyakas, where, contemplation and contemplative techniques are mentioned. That is one. And then finally, the Upanishads. This is one way of, and then they, kind of included something from one and the other, and then they made into three kandams. One is the Karma Kandam, Upasana Kandam, and the Jnana Kandam. Interestingly, in Upadesha Saram, Bhagavan has arranged these verses in the same manner. First few verses are about karma. And he says there, in order to have Ishvararpitam na ichchaya kritam chitta shodhakam, he says. It completely purifies your mind. And then he talks about upasana in the form of, pujanam, japa, chintanam, kramat, and so on. And he keeps on elaborating it a little more. And finally, the finest point of upasana comes when there is a soham bhavam that is there. Bheda bhavanat soham ityasau bhavana bhida pavani mata. Like that he goes on. And then the last 15 verses are mainly about this Atma Vicharam and the Jnana Kandam. The same way he has arranged. The significance of the verse that I read out is, if your aim is to get moksham, then you have to catch hold of this jnanacharam. If your aim is to attain concentration, then you go through upasana. Upasana actually means like Upanishad, Upadesham, another thing. Upa asanam, sitting close to God. That is the actual meaning. The process of practicing the proximity of Bhagavan, proximity of Ishvara. That is upasana. So if you do upasana, then it completely gives you the concentrated mind, which is a very sharp tool. And then you become fit for your jnanacharam, vichara, jnana, vichara marga. And the first portion is for purifying the mind. So when Ishvara tells that these are not required, we are all used to doing all these things all through our life. Even now, we continue to do that. All our puja and all the rest of the things that we do. It does not mean that we should give them up and then directly go into that. I'm just cautioning. It's not necessarily that we should do that. Ask ourselves this question: is my mind pure? If honestly the answer is yes, then you can go to the next stage. If the answer is no, don't give up your karmas. Similarly, upasana, the worship of God. Have we attained concentrated mind? If the answer is an honest yes, then you go to the next stage. But if it is no, continue with it. It is easy to give up whatever we are doing. But when we are not fit to take up the next stage, we are neither here nor there. So this is what we have got to remember when we go through these, fantastic instructions given by Parameshwara to Parvati Devi, because his focus is finally come to this jnanacharam. Because moksham should be your aim in life. Nothing less would do. If you are really going to aim for moksham, then many of the things that you are involved with, they are not required now. That's the meaning of the whole thing. So we saw last time Parameshwara telling Parvati Devi that all this chakra meditation, all this involvement with Nadi, Kundalini, all these things are not required. In this slokam, which is the 16th verse, Ishvara says, Kumbhakam mantra jalam cha pranayamadi dharanam sarvam etan na kartavyam. You don't have to do. Na kartavyam moksham akshayam ichchata. Moksham akshayam. This akshayam is very important, because if it is going to be, if you are aiming to have an everlasting liberated state, akshayam, everlasting, it is not going to change in its character. It is going to remain the same. If that is your aim, then you don't have to do any of these things, and that will be actually a detour. That's what he is saying. Kumbhakam, pranayamam, kumbhakam is a method by which you control the breath and then keep it inside. Rechakam, kumbhakam, rechakam, purakam, kumbhakam. These things are all mentioned in the pranayam. So here he says, this kumbhakam mantra jalam cha. And Bhagavan's translation is kumbhakamum mandira kuttam uyir chalana stambanam mun ayavam dharanaidam என்பவைகள் அத்தனையும் ஆச்சரிக்க வேண்டாவாம். You don't have to really follow these things. ஆச்சரிக்க வேண்டாவாம். அக்ஷயமாம் முக்தி இச்சை உள்ளோர் முயன்று. He says the same thing. If your aim is to really reach that stage of, a stage of permanent liberation, where there is no going and coming back and stuff like that, you are going to really stay in that everlasting kind of a mukti, then you don't have to follow all these things. So what are the things that he is talking about? He is talking about the pranayamam, and also he mentions about dharanam. Dharanam means concentration again. These are yogic concentration techniques. Today also we read about all these things, yogic concentration, vipassana yogam, so many things are there. They're all concentrating the mind. These are all parts of the yoga. Yoga consists of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Pratyahara is to withdraw attention from all the senses. That is pratyahara. Dharanam is concentration, then dhyanam, meditation, and finally samadhi. When meditation becomes very, very, very deep, then it leads you to samadhi, a state where it is a combination of a sleep-like stillness of the mind, where the mind does not really have any objects in its in its view, and there is a full awareness as it is prevailing in the waking world. It's a combination of these two things, these two states, and this is known as Jagrat Sushupti, and various other names are also there in this. Ari Tuyil is the name that we give in Tamil for this. Ari Tuyil, there will be Arivu, there will be a Prajna all the time, and also it is sleep. And Ranganatha Swami in Sri Rangam is supposed to be in that state of Ari Tuyil. He is supposed to maintain the entire universe, but he does that in a sleeping position. He sleeps and then he maintains the entire universe. Ari Tuyil, that's what it says. So, Sarvam Etan Na Kartavyam. It is not really required for you to really take up all these things, because these are all things that are a detour, basically. If you have enough the fitness to take up Atma Vicharam, do that directly. You don't have to really bother about rest of the things. That's what this particular verse says. Attaniyam acharikya vendamam, he says. I will go to the next verse, the 17th verse. Na atra puja namaskaro na japo dhyanameva kevalam nyeyamityuktam veditavyam na kinchana. The second sentence is the key sentence. Bhagavan's translation is Pujai, Vanakkam, Puri Japam, Chintanam, Acharipadu Yedume Angu Illai. This Angu is Atra, is a very important. Peshum Adu is actually Vedangalal Peshapadum Adu. What are all the Vedas are proclaiming, that's substance, that Vastu, Purna Vastu. Pesum Adu Kevalam Nyayam Yendrikeld. Only that needs to be really understood, that needs to be really known. All other things are not really required to be known. Kinchil Anyamam Arya Venduvadu Indram. You don't have to know anything other than yourself. Our mind really goes into all these various objects in this world, gets involved in all these things. There's a bold statement here saying that don't have to know anything other than yourself. Just know yourself, and that is equivalent of knowing everything. And our mind will not accept this. Our modern mind will not accept this thing, but that is the truth. And we could see that in Bhagavan's life. He was just in one place, but he really pulled the whole world to him during his time. He did not give any instructions, but his instructions, whatever little he gave, are going so viral. Even today, we are so much interested. And if anybody wants to know the purest of Advaitam, they say that let us not waste any time in knowing any other thing. Let us go and then read Bhagavan's words. That is enough. So he really lived and proved that nothing other than yourself is really required to be known. Just know yourself. That is more than enough. That's what he says. Kevalam nyeyamityuktam veditavyam na kinchara. Namaskaraha, the Surya Namaskaram actually is a great ritual. People do that for, for building the health and other things. See, the references to that. These kind of things are very good at one stage. It gives you a lot of benefits, health benefits and mental benefits and so on. But if you are going to get involved in this and then think that this is the end of the whole thing, then you are mistaken. There is something better than this. There is something more useful to be acquired. So concentrate on that, says Ishvara. Natra puja namaskaro na japo dhyanam. Even dhyanam, he says, because dhyanam involves the mind. And our interest is to see that the mind is completely destroyed. Unless the mind is destroyed, the world will keep appearing before you. And there is a good chance of you are thinking that the world is real and you're going to get attached to it, and then there's no real liberation once the mind is active. So the most important thing is mind's destruction. And by following a method which is going to make the mind survive for longer and longer and longer, your final aim and your means are not, in alignment. They are contradicting each other. So that's why he says even dhyanam at one point in time, doing something with the mind is not going to be helpful. Dhyanam is basically a part of this upasana where, concentration on a God's form is what is recommended. You keep on meditating on a form. Or even nirakaram and other things, they say all these things. But ultimately, where does the experience take place? You're saying that I want to experience God. Can God be experienced through the mind? Even God is experienced as I, in the I, isn't it? The experience takes place. The center of experience is only this I. There is no other means which is available to us to have an experience. Experiencing factor in us, the experiencing element in us is this I-ness. Nothing else. So all other things are, that is why they say it is paroksha anubhuti. Paroksham is an indirect experience. Experience which is not an independent experience, but a dependent experience. You are depending upon the mind and the intellect to experience something. So it is called as paroksha anubhuti. And the atma anubhuti is aparoksha anubhuti. They say non-indirect. They use a double negative. Aparoksha anubhuti. Why they use a double negative? Because all of us are bothered only with paroksha anubhuti. They want to deny that. They want to really say, refute that. So they say aparoksha anubhuti. So double negative is used to do that. So the experiencing factor, the element, the zone of experience is only I. So all these shastras, they finally say that catch hold of this I. I is the method by which you will be able to have the ultimate experience. So turn your mind. And then don't allow the mind to keep on moving outside. Vedangalal pesappadum adu, he says. There is a beautiful verse in Avadhuta Gita to expand upon this point. It says, Avadhuta Gita is supposed to be an instruction given by Dattatreya. Dattatreya seems to have given this particular thing. Everybody says that Dattatreya Rachita Avadhuta Gita. The very beginning, the very first verse of Avadhuta Gita is Ishvara Anugrahadeva Pumsam Advaita Vasana. Ishvara Anugraham should be there for you even to have a sniff of Advaitam. Even if you want to go taste a little bit of Advaitam, it comes only by the Anugraham, the grace of the Lord. And then it goes on to say, after having said all these things, it goes on to say that don't confine this Ishvara to a limited form. And here he says, in one of the last chapters of this work, Dattatreya says, Tvad yatraya vyapakata hatate. By undertaking pilgrimages to your abodes, what am I doing? I am really hurting your all-pervasiveness. You are everywhere. And to think that you are going to be only in Rameshwaram or in Kashi or in Tiruvannamalai and other things, I am actually unconsciously destroying hatate. He uses the word hatate. I am really destroying your vyapakata. Your all-pervasiveness is being hurt by me. Tvad yatraya. So undertaking a pilgrimage, unknowingly I am doing this. Dhyanena chetah parata hatate. By undertaking dhyanam, I am really destroying your other aspect. That is dhyana chetah parata. That you are beyond the mind, I am hurting that. You cannot be caught hold of by the mind. We cannot make you into an object. The moment you use your mind, you are objectifying God. Can God be an object of your mind? He is the very subject. He is the only one who is there in you as you. So by doing this, by doing dhyanam, he says, I am making this mistake. This is an error in this. Dhyanena chetah parata. The transcendence of mind is being hurt by me. And then he goes on, stutya, by doing stotram to you. By doing stotram to you, maya vak parata hatate. that you are beyond all speech, you are beyond all words. Mind cannot catch you, the birds cannot catch you. All these things I am going against them. So he says, Tutya maya vakparata hatate chamasva nityam trividha paradhan. I am making this mistake, aparadham. I am doing an aparadham. These three types of aparadham, please excuse me for this. It says Avadhuta Gita. So this is a way of looking at that highest level of sadhana, where you are not going to confine. It is going to be a nirakara dhyana. You are not going to confine God to any one place. You are not going to confine him in your mind. You are not going to confine him with your words and stuti and other things. It is beyond all these things. It's good for us to remember this. Not that we should not do any of these things. We will continue to do this. But remember that ultimately we have to reach that particular state. I'm keeping on repeating it again and again because, as I said, it is easy to give up. It seems Suri Nagamma, after Bhagavan's Nirvana, she shifted to Vijayawada. For several years she was there. I think in the early 70s or maybe late 70s, she passed away. So many Western devotees used to go to Suri Nagamma to listen to her about her experience with Bhagavan, and it used to be an extraordinary, event for all the foreigners also. So they used to request her, please come to USA, please come to the other foreign countries because people are very hungry to listen to you. They'll benefit so much by you. Then it seems she said, no, I am having some anushtanam. I'm doing so many things. And how can I come to US and other places? I won't be able to really proceed with those things in a satisfactory manner. Then they said, what is this? You have lived with Bhagavan for such a long time and he has never recommended any of these things. And then why are you saying that you cannot give up all these things? Then it seems Nagamma replied, who said that he has not recommended any of these things? Bhagavan's instructions are not for a whole crowd. He was somebody who did not take up a stage and then harangue people about many things. He never went on a stage. All his instructions were private instructions. What is meant for you may not be meant for the other person. This is what we have to really remember when we really want to follow. Because it's very tempting for people to say, no, Bhagavan said all these things are not really, give up on all. It's very easy to do that. So that is why let us be very careful and integrate our sadhana with all the final aim in the mind and keep on integrating our sadhana. In fact, to Kunjaswami, it seems he very specifically said when Kunjaswami went and told Bhagavan, I'm not able to continue with Atma Vicharam. There's so much of a tension in my brain. I'm not able to continue. It seems whenever such a tension arises, stop that and then do some parayan. Do some other thing. Go on Giri Pradakshina, all these things. So we need to very cleverly integrate all these things in our sadhana, but keep the final aim in mind this way. So this Avadhuta Gita explains that. And maybe this is the time I should also mention about a great story. You would have all known about this story, but worth repeating. The story of a great devotee by name Harivamsh Lal Punja. Was known as Punjaji. Later on, he was called as Papaji, and so on. A very interesting story. A Punjabi Brahmin. He was born in the Pakistan-occupied Pakistan, Punjab. He was born in Lahore, somewhere near Lahore. And he was, right from the childhood, he was an extraordinary person because he had the visions of Krishna even from childhood. He used to play with Krishna. Others would not be able to see, but he would be saying that I am seeing Krishna, Krishna is doing this to me, he is singing this song to me, all kinds of things he used to say. His mother used to ask him, why are you talking to yourself? He said, no, I am talking to Krishna. She was not able to see, but he was able to see and all. He was growing in that manner. But at some time, all these visions stopped. When he was about 10 or 11 or so, all these visions stopped. He was enjoying the company of Krishna, and then he was so happy. He was a very happy child. Then, anyway, he did not know how to get back those visions. It was not possible for him. He finished his studies. He got into the British Army. And he worked in the British Army for some time. And at some point in time, his tapanam for getting back those visions and seeing God was so much that he gave up his job. And then he sat at home. He was married. He sat at home because the eagerness to get back that vision. And he took up the thing of going and then meeting all the saints and sages around the place. And he used to ask them, have you seen God? Can you show God to me? He was really hungry for that vision of God. He went on asking everybody. Then, one day in his house, one sadhu appeared. He asked the same question to the sadhu. He pulled him inside, made him sit and all the thing. He asked him same question. Have you seen God? Can you show God to me? So that sadhu said, there is one saint in South India, in Tiruvannamalai. Name is Ramana Maharshi. He gave the name also. And he gave the place where he stayed. He will be able to solve your problem. Go to him. So he was quite excited about the whole thing. And how to go to South India because it's so far away. In Lahore, he had to go to South India. The next day morning, he saw in the newspaper an advertisement for an ex-serviceman to maintain army canteen in Madras. So he applied and he got the job. And he came. He came to Madras. And the first thing that he did after coming to Madras was go to Ramana Ashramam. He went inside. All his bag and baggage he kept outside the meditation hall, and people said that Ramana Maharshi is inside. He went inside. When he saw Ramana Maharshi, he was shocked. He stood there for some time, came out of the place, took all his bags and baggages, and then once again he caught hold of the same jatka that brought him to the ashram, and he was about to go. Then a very senior devotee who was watching the whole thing came and asked him, where are you going? You came just now. You know, this sadhu is a fake sadhu. Why do you say that? He said, he came to me in Lahore and then told me that there is a saint. He gave the name and the place. Come and then meet him, he will guide you. And then when I come here, I find him sitting here. He said, that is very, very strange because he has never left this place after coming into this place. For the last 40 years or 45 years, he has never left this place. So either you had a vision or maybe some other mysterious thing has happened. I will not be able to explain. But don't go away now. Please give him a chance. So he stayed for 2 or 3 days in the ashramam. But he was still regretful of the fact that this Swamiji was not talking at all. He was just sitting quiet. And people around him are also sitting quiet. And he was expecting maybe people will be getting engaged in Nama Sankirtanam, recitation and this and that. Nothing was, everybody was sitting quiet, closing their eyes. And the Swami was also not saying anything. What is this? What kind of a thing is this? This is not going to appeal to me, he said. And then he went to some place around Tiruvannamalai. He just took before leaving, he just wanted to check out the place. He found a very secluded spot and his mind was very attracted to the spot, stayed in that spot. And then he started getting the visions of Krishna at that point in time. For about 3 days, I believe he had a remarkable experience with Krishna. 3 whole days he danced with him, sang with him, everything to his heart's content. And then he decided to return to Madras. Now, my purpose is achieved. I've got that. But before going, he wanted to meet Maharshi. More to tell him, I got what I wanted, not what you are teaching here. He wanted to tell him with a lot of pride. He says, I went and stood before Bhagavan. Bhagavan asked me, where were you? And he said, I was in this place and I had supernatural experience with Krishna and other things. Oh, I had the vision of Krishna. Oh, very good. Where is he now? He asked. No, it was a vision, it would disappear. Oh, is that so? What is the use of a God who appears and disappears? Asked Bhagavan. What is the use of a God who appears and disappears? This was like an atom bomb exploding within his mind. When this question came to him, he was stunned by that question and the mind was arrested. And the reality of the question, he did not know what to answer, how to answer. He just listened to him for some time and then he went back to Madras. And all the Krishna Dhyanam that he was doing, the Japam that he was doing, he was not able to continue. Try however much, all the 30 years of his Japam, that mantram disappeared from his mind. He was not able to remember the mantra. Then he thought, okay, this must be the work of Maharshi. I should go to him again. The story goes that he came again to Tiruvannamalai, and he went in front of Bhagavan and told him, I am not able to do the japam that I was able to do. After I met you, I could not do. Nothing came to me. Please help me. I do not want to be in this state. Why did that mantram go away from my mind? I'm not able to understand. Please help me. So this is what he was crying in front of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan asked him, how did you come here? He was puzzled. What irrelevant question is this? How did I come here? Anyway, he answered, I came by train. Okay, what happened after you came to Tiruvannamalai? No, I got off the train and the train went off. Okay, then what did you do? Again, why is he asking all these questions? He thinks, I took a jatka and came. What did you do with the jatka? We paid him the money and then sent the jatka. Jatka is gone. Jatka. Your japam, dhyanam, puja are all similar to this. They are all gates. They give you the means of reaching the final goal. Once they are done, they are not useful any longer. Your puja was helpful to some extent to bring you to a particular level. Your japam was also helpful. But once all these things are done, then they will have to be discharged like the way you have discharged all these things. And there was a remarkable change in Harivamshalal Punja. He says, when Bhagavan gave me a look, with that look, every cell in my body was purified. That's what he says. Every cell in my body was completely purified and recreated. I became a new person. And then he could get the actual message of Bhagavan at that point in time, and then continued to be one of the greatest of devotees of Bhagavan. And Punjab, another is, of course, after partition, they all settled down in Lucknow and all the thing. But the way he propagated Bhagavan's philosophy later on was a purest of Bhagavan's message was given by him to various other people from abroad and so on and so forth. Why I'm saying all these things, all this puja, namaskaram, all these things that is mentioned, they have a purpose. And that purpose is to take you to a particular level. Till you convince yourself that you have reached that level, continue to do them, and a day will come when you will know they are not needed any longer. How will you know that? How will you know that from now onwards I don't have to do any of these rituals? You will know that when you feel comfortable by leaving them, that you are not going to regret them. If there is even a small iota of doubt in your mind or hesitation on your part, continue with them. They will go. Viveka Chudamani, Adi Shankara gives a beautiful example. He says that as children we play marbles, we play kite. But do you continue to do that when you are an adolescent or you are an adult or some such thing? These are all plays. You outgrow them. You should outgrow all these means of sadhana. They will drop off by themselves. Once you do that, then you are clear in your mind that this is all. This is alone enough for me. So as Ishvara says, yes, kevalam nyayamityuktam. Merely that which has to be known is the self. Nothing else needs to be known, and you will be convinced about that, and you will be able to carry on with that. Time is late. I will go to the next one. Bahirahita chittanam jayante bandhahetavaha bahischittam nivaryeva kopi lokena sidati veli vishayam patrum viri manattarku. Bhagavan's beautiful translation. Viri manattarku, he says. The mind that keeps on expanding. Bahischittam, he translates into viri manam. Only Bhagavan can do this. Veli Vishayam Patrum Viri Manattarku Endrum Vilayum Dehu Banda Hetu Veliye Tiriyum Sittathai Tiruppa Nilai Uttrel Oru Tuni Mevar Ulahil Or. Tuni actually uses a word, a very rare word. Tuni means Tunbam. Tuni means suffering. They will not undergo any suffering provided they are able to leave the mind behind and turn the mind's attention back within oneself. Don't allow the mind to keep on expanding. This is a very useful tip that he is giving here. What we do is, even after we get into all this sadhana and other things, we have a tendency to get involved in various other things. When our aim is to cut down on all our attachments to this world, unknowingly, unwittingly, we take on bandha in this manner. There was a great Ramana devotee who came to the Hyderabad Kendram. Once we invited him for a lecture. He was staying with us. That Ramana devotee, one day we were talking, and then he was saying that I was into Bhagavan's sadhana for a long time. And I was very particular to see that sadhana continues. But then I got interested in astrology. And I got interested in Carnatic music. Like that he was mentioning. Carnatic music, not that Sangeetam alone. Sangeetam gives you that inner experience. It is not Sangeetam alone. The musicology, they say, the framework of Carnatic music, how the ragas are formed, the Melakarta ragas and so on and so forth. He says, my mind got distracted into Jyotisham and this Sangeetam. I did not know that they were really becoming the obstacles for my growth, sadhana, for a very, very, very long time. The very senior devotee talking about it. For a long time, I did not realize that I was not able to progress, mainly because of my involvement with Jyoti. Because so many new attachments come to you. It is just an example. There are many examples. Unwittingly, we take on things which are going to expand our mind. Viri manam. Mind keeps on expanding. And when you give one chance to mind will catch hold of something near to that zone, something near to that zone, and so on. By the time you know what is happening, you would have completely lost track of your original quest and original goal. So this is a caution. Since Devaraja Mudaliyar used to ask Bhagavan a lot of things, he used to be very close to Bhagavan, and then he was not afraid of asking Bhagavan anything. He was known to be a devotee who had all kinds of questions and a very bold manner of talking to him, talking to Bhagavan. It seems once there was a activity, he wanted to take up an activity. He was a lawyer by profession. He wanted to take up maybe an association or some such thing. Somebody was requesting him to become the president of an association, maybe something like that. So went and asked Bhagavan permission. Bhagavan said, why do you want to do that? If something comes on its own, something that has to be enjoyed by you or to go through by you, you do that. I don't say no to that. Now, vendangala. Since Bhagavan said that, Tana vanduduna edutuko, anubhavichuko. Now, vendangala. I'm not saying no to that. But don't go on your own and then catch hold of something. This is a mistake that many people make in getting involved in sadhana. Nisargadatta Maharaj had a beautiful method of an analogy. Maharaj used to say that our personality means a lot of hooks. Our personality is actually, you can envisage that lot of hooks are there. And we are moving in this samsara. The samsara is just a net. Your hooks will get caught in some net or other, some problem. So he used to say, straighten your hooks. That is the instruction he gave. Straighten your hooks so that you will escape all this net around you. And that is precisely what he says. Viri manam. That manam, that mind keeps on expanding. That is going to be a great problem for you. So don't get involved in that. Bahirahita chittanam. Ahitam is something that travels. Bahirahita. The mind travels, rides over something or the other. It has to just keep on something and then take a ride. This is what the mind will do. Bahirahita chittanam jayante bandha hetavaha. They will all get involved in all the bondages. They're all instruments of catching hold of you, trapping you. Bahischittam nivaryaiva. The mind that goes out, by pulling it back again alone, he says, nivaryaiva kopi lokena sidati. He will not get rid of the suffering that is going to be generated by this lokam. Bahischittam nivaryaiva kopi lokena sidati is the instruction that is given by Ishvara. So, திரியும் சித்தத்தை திருப்ப நிலை உற்றேல். திருப்ப நிலை, that state that he is talking about, that state of, everything quietening down, all the attachments going, that particular state will come only when you are very when you take a precaution against all these things. Once you are able to do that, you will be able to get over the suffering and then, remain in that state. So he says, Oru tuni mevar ulahil vor. So this is the 18th verse. With this, I will stop today. Thank you very much.